Well, I can't believe I actually made it here. And by here, I mean the topic of today's video. Good morning and happy hump day, everyone. Before I get to that, let's get to my low, my high, my act of kindness. I would say that my low was I stayed in bed longer than I should have. Man, I got no drive to get out of bed in the morning. And the sad part is, I'm actually up earlier today than I was yesterday. That's crazy. Also, it rained a lot yesterday. That was also my low. My high was I talked to my mom yesterday. It was great. And my act of kindness was I did a personal favor for someone. That's what I did. So, well, I mean, you saw the title of this video, and you probably saw the short yesterday. You know, what's there left to talk about when it comes to Dragon Ball? Before I get into that, though, I think it's about, if you don't already know, back in January of 2020, I started the series of arc thoughts for One Piece. We were roughly, we were just getting done with the Odin flashback on Wano, and I thought if I did an arc thoughts, once a month until I got to Wano, the series would be almost over and I'd be able to finish it by then. Boy, was I wrong. I mean, I returned to doing arc thoughts when One Piece finally finished Egghead. But for the most part, there really wasn't a reason for me to go back to doing that sort of thing. That format. And then came the passing of Akira Toriyama, the creator of Dragon Ball. Pretty much anyone who's ever known anime, or manga, or heck, even if you didn't watch Dragon Ball, you knew what it was. That was for late 80s kids, early to late 90s kids. This was my childhood. Coming home after school, trying to get some homework done as much as I could before Dragon Ball Z came on. I believe it was 5 o'clock on Toonami. I think that was the time slot at the time. It changed a lot, so bear with me. It was... Sometimes I don't realize how good I had it back then, huh? Oh well, you live and you learn. When Akira Toriyama passed away, I knew I had to pay my respects and tribute my own way. Hence why I brought back the arc thoughts. The first arc thoughts I did for Dragon Ball was a 2-for-1. I talked about both the Emperor Pilaf saga and the 21st Budokai Tenkaichi, or 21st World Martial Arts Tournament, for those of you who don't know what that means. And from then, I just kept it going. I did Red Ribbon, 22nd Budokai Tenkaichi, Piccolo, 23rd Budokai Tenkaichi, Saiyan, Frieza, Cell, Boo. And it was Boo originally where the series ended. Everything that's come out of Dragon Ball Super is supposed to be in between the very end of defeating Majin Buu to the very last chapter, where Goku trains with Oob to become the next, hero of the world, essentially. Which, obviously, Oob is actually a reincarnation of Majin Buu. So that's really cool. They tied it all together there. Even that I thought was cool. So, when that horrible Dragon Ball Evolution movie came out, Akira Toriyama said, no, I'm not going to let people remember my series for this. So that's why, after the Buu saga, technically, you have Battle of Gods, Resurrection F, Universe 6 saga, Goku Black saga, Tournament of Power, Broly, Moro, Granola, Superhero, and most recently Daima, which is supposed to take place in between Buu and Battle of Gods. So with all of that, and Daima being the very last project Akira Toriyama worked on before he passed away, I should also probably mention the very last chapter he worked on with Toyotaro, which was, and I remember reading this chapter and having a blast reading it, because at the very end, it's Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, Goten, Trunks, and Broly fighting each other on Beerus' planet. I'm reading this and like, you know what? Whatever future the series holds, it's looking pretty awesome. On top of that, you also have, Piccolo in his new orange form. Not to mention the rest of the Z fighters like Krillin, Tien, Yamcha, Chaozu, Boo, technically. But let's be honest, Boo's been a wild card this whole time. What's there left to be worried about? Well, that gets into, what's there left to do? I mean, Frieza's still out there. I actually really liked, because Totally Not Mark made a really great video about this a while ago, saying how much Frieza has changed over time, like throughout the course of the series. Because back on Namek, Frieza really did believe he was unstoppable, and then Goku defeated him. And when he comes back in Resurrection F, Frieza decided he was going to train, obtain greater power, and then fight Goku again. Which is a good idea, but as soon as he got his golden form, Goku and Vegeta were able to figure out that golden form was taking up more energy than his body can supply. Basically, Frieza rushed in too quickly. So at the end of the Granola Saga, when Frieza becomes Black Frieza, he pretty much one-shots Goku and Vegeta. Granted, Goku and Vegeta had just finished fighting Gas, along with Granola's help. So, why didn't Frieza just kill Goku and Vegeta then? Because he knows he doesn't need to. Not now, anyway. He just wanted to reassert his dominance as the most powerful being in the universe. That's why at the end of the final chapter, with that Akira Toriyama was involved in, it was so cool seeing, Gohan in his beast form, Goku and Vegeta fighting, Goten and Trunks finally getting serious with their fighting, not to mention Broly. And again, we have Piccolo in his orange form, and the rest of the Z fighters. The pieces are in place for what could be an otherwise climactic showdown between Earth's forces and Frieza, which I'm pretty sure everyone's anxiously waiting to see. So why haven't we gotten it yet? Well, there's a bunch of reasons. Obviously, people are talking about Daima right now, which is great. It's also, what? I mean, we haven't even gotten an anime for the Moro Saga. That everyone's anxiously waiting for that as well. Well, that I can explain because making anime is ridiculously expensive. Even with the source material to look out from, it's very time-consuming and costly to make. Not to mention, the Japanese cast for Dragon Ball is very much high up there in age. I mean, Masako Nozawa, the definitive voice of Goku, she's 89 years old, and she was voicing Goku in Daima. That's insane. I mean, that woman is an anomaly for sure. That's actually been the problem with One Piece lately. Kazuki Yao, who was the voice of Frankie, he had to step down and retire. He's only 66 years old, but he was in late 30s, early 40s when he started voicing Frankie for the Water 7 saga, or Water 7 arc. And they had to get someone new who was younger because Kazuki Yao was getting up there in age. And he was actually one of the younger people on that cast. I mean, Mayumi Tanaka's like in her mid to late 60s, I believe. Dragon's voice actor's 87. The voice of Jinbei's like 78. And they're all voicing those characters still, which is, mind-boggling. Even here in America, you have people like Jim Cummings and Billy West who are very much getting up there in age. I think Billy West might be in his 80s right now. I think he is. I was at a very late 70s. That's insane. These are the voices of my childhood even, and like they're that much older. It just goes to show that, we've been blessed to have them for so long. So there's that problem. But also, we know that Earth's forces and Frieza are going to have, again, a climactic showdown. But how is it going to go down? Well, a while back, Toyotaro said that, there's enough stuff for Dragon Ball to keep going on for many years to come, which is reassuring. So why don't they get to it already? My guess is they wouldn't know where to start. They know that we gotta deal with Frieza. How do you get to doing that, though? Well, with the introduction of Daima in the Demon Realm, you actually open up a lot of possibilities. And I said this in my Arc Thoughts last month, where, like, what if Frieza figures out that there's a Demon Realm? What if that's where Frieza was able to train, to become, the strongest being in the universe? Because remember, in the Granola Saga, you wish to be the strongest being in the universe, but Frieza wasn't in the universe. He was in another universe. What if he was in the Demon Realm? That could be a possibility. Or let's say Frieza doesn't know what the Demon Realm exists yet, but he does find out. What if he goes there and, hey, listen, there's still more tertian oculi there. He could just as easily find a tertian oculus and, wreak havoc just like Goma did. Plus, how funny would it be if, to knock out the tertian oculi, they gotta hit Frieza in the back of the head 3 times? That'd be pretty funny. And, again, just like Toriyama's humor. And I also alluded to this idea in my Arc Thoughts last month, but obviously to defeat Black Frieza, there needs to be at least one, either a new fusion or a new transformation for Goku and or Vegeta. Those things need to happen. Like, what if Goku and Vegeta performed fusion to form Gogeta again, but Goku's using Ultra Instinct and Vegeta's using Ultra Ego, and they combine? That'd be cool. Or I had this idea too. Grant, I was talking about Daima at the time. What if Goku does what he did in the Universe 6 arc against Hit, but on a grander scale? Because when Goku defeated Hit, he combined Super Saiyan Blue with the Kaioken. And now that Super Saiyan 4 is canon, and Goku's had this in his back pocket for a long time now, technically, what if he combines Super Saiyan 4 with Ultra Instinct? For the record, for many years now, ever since the introduction of Super Saiyan 4 back in the days of GT, there has been so much crazy fan art, like what Super Saiyan 5 could look like, what Super Saiyan 6 could look like, what Super Saiyan, like, the numbers keep going up, which is crazy that you'd even think that it'd go even further than that. But then again, Goku would go even further beyond in Daima. That's why we got Super Saiyan 4, and that's why it's canon now. I mean, actually, I remember seeing the design for Super Saiyan 5 that someone did years and years and years ago. And basically, it's like Super Saiyan 4, but it's all white hair. Ultra Instinct has Goku with white hair. Maybe that's Super Saiyan 5. Again, just that, just with the things I've said alone, that's just barely scratching the surface of what you could do or what could come next. Some people have often theorized that for Dragon Ball to continue on successfully, you do have to write Goku out of the story, which technically is doable. And for a while, Toriyama, back when he was alive, did that. That's why Gohan was the protagonist for a while. But, I mean, writing Goku out of Dragon Ball would be like writing Luffy out of One Piece. I mean, could you do it? Maybe. But you'd have a lot of backlash. Whatever the future holds for Dragon Ball, even if we don't know what's happening next, there really is a lot to look forward to. And it's still a great time to be a Dragon Ball fan. And come to think, since I mentioned One Piece a couple times, it's a great time to be a One Piece fan too. It really is cool that, being in my mid-30s, gosh, I'm old. Being in my mid-30s, I see friends of mine who also grew up liking Dragon Ball, who have kids of their own, and they're watching the series with their parents. Or actually, who are the people I grew up with. You know what I mean? Basically, it's really great that a younger generation is getting introduced to Dragon Ball in such a really cool way. It's something I hope to do with my kids, actually, someday. If I ever have kids, that is. I don't want to get into that right now. So, yeah. I gotta say, it was a lot of fun doing these art thoughts. It really was. I mean, could I bring this back again? Maybe. Problem is, what would I do? I've done all the current arcs of One Piece and everything in Dragon Ball. Technically, I know these weren't art thoughts, but technically when Totally Not Mark was doing Naruto, I did that. I could probably do another art thoughts on Naruto. Or you know what? Maybe I could do One Piece again on New Game Plus. I mean, remember, when I started doing art thoughts for One Piece, they were just their own separate videos. I mean, they were still on my channel, but they were not on whatever day number it was. I could probably change that format as well. And maybe see if my opinion over on the arcs have changed. Of course, if I wanted to do One Piece again, I'm not going to wait once a month. That'd be entirely too long. I mean, it took me over 2 years, it took me 2.5 years just to get to Wano. So, I wouldn't do it once a month. I could probably do other series I watched. I mean, Fairy Tail I watched, for sure. I could also do other technically some anime don't really have arcs like Gurren Lagann or Kill la Kill, so that'd be rough. Again, the possibilities are endless for this too. All I know is that for now, this was a lot of fun to do. Even well over a year after his death, it's still sad that Akira Toriyama's gone. But you know what? He gave us a series that quite literally changed the world. For the better, I think. It got people like me growing up watching Dragon Ball who are now showing their kids Dragon Ball. I still get excited whenever I watch old clips of the show, even now. And whatever happens next, if it does happen next, I'm pretty sure the world is going to be all too happy to see it. I hope you like this video. If you'd like to subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow me on social media. As always, I'm very humble in this video for all you guys watching Joe today. Hope you have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Wednesday. And remember, if you guys want to talk to us, we're here to let you know. Always be back. Take care. Make good choices. 607 all day, baby.